Hello, dear starshines. Christina here with Rise of the Multi-Dimensional Human and the Lightbody Academy. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. For those of you who are new to the chats, my name is Christina and I am the acceleration expert, and we are here to talk about topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. Things that present pretty significant challenges in our day-to-day experience. If you are joining us on YouTube and you find this information helpful, please hit the subscribe button and the like, and maybe make some comments. Let us know how we've touched you, how we've helped you out, or anything like this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you're on Facebook and you want to and you want me to see your name here, you're going to have to click on the link at the bottom of the description of this video and give StreamYard permission for me to see your name. All right. If you want to be a contributor to the kinds of conversations that we have in these chats, I encourage you to check out our Rise of the Multi-Dimensional Human Facebook group on Facebook, or our Multi-Dimensional Human channel on Telegram. Both those places are resources where we develop these topics and ideas to talk about each week. And I welcome your input, of course, because, well, these chats are for you guys. What can we do to help liberate your perspective? Hello, dear sister Joanne. Hello, dear Facebook user. Nice to see you. We'll give everybody a few more minutes to join the conversation. There's lots of really interesting things going on. I know there's a lot of people are doing their best to avoid being torn between factions, torn between narratives. You know, it's becoming more and more challenging every day not to get involved in the polarizing narratives that are going on the planet today. So I'm going to do my best to provide a perspective where perhaps we can find more neutrality or unity, or something that allows us to stay in the truth of who we are, and rather than getting involved in the collective nightmare, so to speak. All right, so I'll go ahead and announce the topics. So each of these came from except for one, each of these came from the Rise of the Multi-Dimensional Human group. And the first one was our dear sister Dale, was saying, Christina, I don't feel good participating in the divide of the jabs stories. How do we find and hold a loving, accepting place when there is so much hullabaloo coming at us? Absolutely. I think all of us can relate. Many of us seems to even being neutral on the topic is controversial. Yeah. So yes, there's a lot of heated, a lot of emotional charge. There's a lot with all of that. All right, and then I'm going to be talking about this a little bit differently than I have in the past. And I'm so grateful for dear sister Starshine that brought this forward. And she was asking about the Orion Wars. How did this affect the galactic humans? And are there still repercussions today? And I'm saying absolutely yes, there are repercussions today, and we are feeling it, living it right now, here and now in today's time. So I look forward to talking about this on another level. So we've gone over this several times before in other chats, but I have a whole nother way of talking about it now that I think you guys might find interesting. And then a dear sister Starshine, this is asking, how do we collapse timelines? Okay, how do we collapse timelines, which is an awesome thing to talk about. So I'm going to be jumping around on these topics as I share my perspective on them. So it's not going to be just straight up bullet points in response. I need to develop some different ideas and then start tackling these pieces. Now, timeline collapsing is easier than ever before, and that is because the veils are lifted and humans have more access to who they are than they ever have before. I'd say unfettered access, right? So timeline collapsing is a really, really effective means to navigating this world right now. And there's some pitfalls because we have our individual timeline, but we're also in the ocean of a collective timeline as well. So when we are in agreement on something, the resonance builds. We know this by working with groups, yeah? And when we have a collective agreement that is aligned with the larger truth of what's going on, then we actually have the ability to steer our sun through the Milky Way galaxy. This is an ancient teaching that was held as very close secret for many, many millennia. But there are lineages that are aware of how we can influence the trajectory of our sun, which means we can either continue going into what people are calling the photon band, or we can actually arc out of it if the collective awareness is at that place where it's able to resonate on those levels. So I'm looking forward to talking about that, because we have a whole nother way of looking at timeline jumping and timeline collapsing and stuff like this. How we think and feel is so potent to the kinds of things that we can navigate. And it's really, really essential that we are clear about how we truly feel about something, not how we're supposed to feel like about something or how it's most ideal if we felt about something, but how we truly feel, what is really going on in our biosuits, because our biosuits is the multidimensional instrument for us to engage this reality and have command of our experience. Okay. So, for example, a lot of people, you might have an interaction and feel very triggered by it. And then you're going to tell yourself, well, I'm not angry. Even though you are angry, you're going to say, I'm not angry. I'm going to find the highest way through this. And you're going to think good thoughts or trying to find a happy medium, but all the while actually denying how you really feel. So how you really feel never gets to move through you, never gets its expression, and instead it gets buried, and it gets buried and sealed over by an idea, a thought form that you find more preferable to how you're really feeling. So this is what humanity's been doing for a very long time, and this is why we're so confused, and this is why we're so easily manipulated, because we are terrified of how we feel. We're terrified to our actual experience, what's really happening for us, rather than reorientating to it in a way that empowers us, that gives us choices, that gives us the ability to cut through the BS with our truth. Okay. Hello, darling. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the activation, and then I'm going to dive into some pieces here. So I'm going to try to do this really quickly, because these other pieces are really exciting to have access to. All right, so this larger circle is the galactic plane. This is the galactic plane. Oops. And actually, I want to also share a picture of the galactic plane as well, because this is something that we need to recognize that we engage with all the time. We are always engaging. It looks like I shut my pictures down. Oh no. All right. I beg your pardon. Hold on. Let me see if I can quickly bring them up. All right. It's going to take a little bit more focus than I have right here. So that part will have to wait. But the galactic plane, this is the galactic mind. This is the, maybe what some may call the Kuan Yin consciousness. All right. The mother of God. This galactic plane is inside of us, and we have access to this all the time. When you are outside looking up at the night sky, you are looking at the galactic plane. When it's a very clear night and you can see the edges of the Milky Way galaxy, okay? This is a living, breathing consciousness that you can look at outside yourself and have contact with the light, have contact with the consciousness. And if you ever notice how you feel, if you ever got to see the Milky Way galaxy, if you ever notice how you feel when you're looking at the Milky Way galaxy, you feel, it's very common to feel open and uplifted. That's because that consciousness is connecting with you and looking back at you. Okay. So this galactic plane is what everything within, all the other nesting dolls within this plane, is made up of this consciousness first. Okay, so this outer nesting doll is where it all begins. hence why we call it the Mother of God, the Madre de Dios. Okay. Then we have the All That Is Presence. That's the next nesting doll in. Many of us may refer to this as God. The beings that are the caretakers of this gateway, when I say gateway, I'm talking about the access points that we have within ourselves, okay, to this consciousness, are the Andromedans. I'm sorry, I'm saying this incorrectly. Is the Galactic Federation. So the Galactic Federation is in charge of the gateway to accessing this level of consciousness in a way with full awareness. Okay, so when we hear disclosure stories and stuff of people having interactions with the Galactic Federation, they're having interactions with the guardians of these access points. Okay. In the old paradigm, it's Galactic Federation. In the new paradigm, it's the Intergalactic Federation, as in there's multiple galactic levels of consciousness beings that are here guarding this. Okay, when I say guarding this, I don't mean with you can't enter. It's more of an ones who initiate you into accessing. Okay, they're maybe more like grandmothers, they're grandparents, they're elders. They initiate us into being able to access these pieces. Okay, so that's the next nesting doll in. The nesting doll that goes within that oneness consciousness is the one of frequency. The next dimension in is frequency. So you individuate out of the all that is consciousness via frequency, a soul song, a wavelength. Wavelengths are absolutely essential to be able to recognize, because once you can start engaging things on the level of frequency and wavelengths, then you can influence any of these nesting dolls, akasha, timelines, and physical matter. All these nesting dolls, once you have the ability to see things in frequency, you can access the frequencies of all the nesting dolls within. So it's a really potent level to be able to work at once you can consciously engage. And then the next dimension in from there is that light body, is the light geometry behind all matter. So frequency creates shape. So the next level of density in from sound is shape. Your light body is quite literally the map of your consciousness unfolding. Okay, inside of this nesting doll. Okay, so this is the map. It creates shape, it creates timelines, it creates existences. Okay, so say on this map, the very first experience that resonates with your frequency is somewhere on Mars. So you're going to incarnate on Mars until that part of the map is fulfilled, and then you're going to go on to the next piece. Maybe then you're going to incarnate on Jupiter and experience consciousness as a Jupiterian being, and so on and so forth. Some people will go to other star systems that first when they are coming in through density. They may go to the Pleiades, or they may go to the different Arcturian levels of existence, or different Sirian levels of existence, or maybe you'll experience interdimensional levels of the galactic plane. Okay, and that's going to be expressed in a whole nother way. The fact of the matter is that this blueprint contains the frequency of why you are individuated in the first place, what it is you want to experience as your individuation. Okay. And as you change things in the light body, you change your individuations. Okay. You change how they manifest instantaneously. It's outside time and space. All right. So once you have the blueprint of your map of what kinds of experiences you want to have with your individuation, the next level in is the experience of those individuations. And this is what we would call the Akasha. This is the perception of the soul's journey. The soul's journey that has all these lifetimes and all these experiences in this solar ring and beyond. Now, and it feels like in this level that time is cyclical, okay? But actually, it's when you're coming from this plane, it's instantaneous. The map instantaneously has all its manifestations, and then something in the map changes, and instantly all those some of those manifestations may completely disappear, and other manifestations will take its place. Okay, so it's like there's no time space when it comes to these planes. When our individuation is experiencing the Akasha, we experience things as past lives, as future lives, as interdimensional lives, stuff like this. So we experience from our perspective this nesting doll very differently. Okay, this is important when it comes to timeline jumping. All right, so time is cyclical in this realm. And then we have the next nesting doll, which is that collective field. The collective field has many, many aspects to it. The important thing to make note about the collective field that it works with collective resonance. Okay, there are, and resonance can be held in place in a lot of ways on this planet. It can be held in place by stone people. It can be held in place by buildings, by certain master built structures that are to a harmonic measure. There are, of course, what happens to the bones of these biosuits that can also anchor in certain sympathetic resonance in the collective. There's lots and lots and lots of ways to anchor things in the collective here. And we have a collective like a 4D field that's around our energy field, but then also around every cell of our body, our belief systems and stuff like this. And then you also have a 4D field that can be around the planet, then around the solar ring, and then so on and so forth. So this collective field is not only applicable to life on Earth, but for us as humans, it is a major, major player in how our reality unfolds. It's a major player. Perhaps in other levels of existence, it's not such a major player. So, but on this planet, it's really, really, really significant. All right. And then we have, so also the other thing about this nesting doll, this is where organic linear time is. It's in this realm we experience organic linear time. That means things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay. So time flies like an arrow through space. And we can, and when we're talking about organic time, we're also talking about time being relative. Okay, when you get into constructed time, artificial time, as in constructs laid on top, then this is where the relativity starts to fall away. So when it comes to organic 4D time, we're talking about a relative time, and it's relating us to a beginning, a middle, and end. You come into this planet, you have a life, and then you leave this planet. That is a timeline right there. Okay. And there's infinite available to us. And what makes it infinitely available is this nesting doll right here. This is the nesting doll that allows infinite available timelines or realities. Okay. Without this nesting doll right here, those potentials would not even exist. Okay. Not even exist. I'm going to keep coloring that in because this is essential. This is what we really have to recognize what's going on here. This is an organizing force. This nesting doll of the 6D. It's an organizing force, and the consciousness that actually holds the access point for humanity to access this organizing force with the consciousness is a race of being, several races of being from the star Sirius, from the star system Sirius. So those beings are the ones who initiate us into stepping into, or initiates us into the potentials, the light body, the blueprints that are available for the mapping of our consciousness. And we can collapse entire realities. We can create entire realities. It's really the limits are, there are no limits at all when you're working on these level. So this is why the Lyrans and the Sirens, the Lyrans, and all different races from the Sirius star system are interacting with us humans, is because they're part of our reality. They're family to us. They really are family, and they are guardians in a way to help to usher us into waking up to our multidimensional self. Okay, so and then this, I'm just going to write Akasha. Oops. Akasha, and then we have our 4D field, and then we have our 3D, which is the realm of space, the realm of separation. This is, something that this is an experience that we only get when we have a biosuit. When you don't have a biosuit, you can't explore the experience of space. You only can explore consciousness. So you have these non-corporeal beings that need humans in a biosuit to actually have an effect in this reality. Okay, so if we didn't have humans in a biosuit willing to acquiesce to the will, to the inspirations, to the impulses of these other beings, they would be absolutely powerless in this realm. So this realm, this 3D realm, is caretaken by humans. This is our realm. This is the realm of, we are the masters of this domain, not God, not any other beings, though we hand our power over to all these beings, because of how we've been trained. But quite literally, this is our wonderland, this planet, this 3D space. This is the wonderland for humans. And, we're learning about what that is and how to allow beauty to continue to proliferate in this realm. Right now, we have other beings implementing agendas, impulsing humans to do terrible things to other humans, terrible things to our environment, terrible things, to live out, like I said earlier, to live out a collective nightmare. So that's only because humans are willing to do it. If humans weren't willing to do it, none of it would be happening, So this 3D space is a very rich and dynamic environment that a lot of beings have desires to have influence, to get to play in the games here, There's extraordinary reindeer games that happen here, so to speak. All right, so and the foundation for this space is that telluric realm. Now, telluric realm we think might be really dense because we think about the earth, we think about stone people, we think about the plant realms, all this stuff. But really, this realm is very rich and dynamic, and all of these nesting dolls have access points within this realm here, just like in 3D. But in this realm, in the 2D realm, it's not hidden. It's not secret. It's not forbidden. In this realm, it's just the basics of how existence is. So you can actually access different beings, different consciousness via portals that are held by mountain people, or by places in underground tunnels where geographically energy lines come together, and it opens up a multidimensional space where you can have access to all these things here. You have crystal cities, you have underground waters, you have all these access points in the telluric realm. And if it wasn't for the telluric realm, we would never be able to have this space. We would never be able to explore space. So it's an essential piece to our reality. And then you have the iron, the crystal core, that the Pachamama in the very center. And I would venture to say that the Pachamama is like the universal mother condensed into a single point consciousness in the center of our planet. And there's been a lot of exploration and calculations and theorizing about what the center of our planet is. And the old science said that it was a liquid molten core, but the new science reveals that it's actually a massive crystal. It's a massive crystal. And as you guys know, crystals hold consciousness. Crystals are are hyperdimensional. So in the center of it all is this crystal that is the entire universal mother condensed into this point. and then put this all together, and you have this here and now moment, right? You have this here and now moment. Okay, so let's tie this in. Let's tie this into the questions that are arising. So I want to tune you guys in. Let's see if I can quickly get these pictures up that I accidentally closed out. I didn't mean to close these pictures out. We're going to start looking at gateways. Okay, we're looking at gateways to consciousness here. So let's see what we have here. Orion's belt. We want the Milky Way. That's what I want. I beg your pardon. I'm just going to take a second to find this graphic for you guys. Milky Way. Here we go. I think this is it. Okay, it is. One moment. We're gonna get there. Okay, there's this one shot of the Milky Way that I want to show you guys because it is very activating. And I put this in the background to one of my videos because it was so activating. So I'm going to go ahead, close these out, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see it. Share screen. Okay. I want to share this screen right here. It's only giving me one screen. Hold on. Did I close it out? Is that what happened? It is. It is. I'm getting there, guys. I'm sorry it's taking seconds. I really want you to have this. I really want you guys to check out this this graphic. All right, third one in. Okay, so here it's open. So now I'm going to add it to our window. I'm going to add it to our window, share screen. Okay. Look at all these. Here, this is the one. Can you guys see it? Did I do that right? Hopefully I did. If not, I'm in trouble. All right, here we go. So let's do that. And, oh, I am so not good at this. All right, un momento. I want my, okay. I beg your pardon. I'm not able to, I'm not sharing this very well. I'm going to stop share and do this over again. Share screen. And I want my picture. Oh, here it is. There we go. I figured it out. I got it. Okay, so you guys see this now. Oops. All right, you guys are with me now. Okay. I'll put my picture there too. There we go. So this is the Milky Way in the desert. And what I want you guys to see with this is a conscious being looking back at you. This is your entire history of being, your soul's journey and beyond, looking back at you. So all these stars have a story that you can access. Now, there are lineage keepers that tell us stories that will tell us, that will get us in connection with our family in the Pleiades, or get us connection in to our family in the star Sirius system. Okay, and there are also stories that get us in touch with the consciousness of Orion's belt. Okay, and these stories, what the stories actually have to say is irrelevant. What's important about these stories is that it can get us in touch with a feeling inside of our bodies, a feeling, a sensation, okay, even a tone, if you understand what I mean by this, okay? And we quite literally have all of our hidden history mapped out in front of us. Just we don't pay attention. That's all. We don't pay attention. And we let other people tell us stories to tell us how we should think about something or feel about something, rather than allowing stories to get us in touch with how we truly feel about something. Okay? This is the manipulation of the 4D. They tell us stories telling us how we should be feeling about something, or how we should orientate to something. But really, these stories are meant to open us up and get us in connection with how we actually feel in relationship to something. You see the difference? Okay. I love this photograph. Here, I have another one here I wanted to share too. Let me get to the next one. Here. It'll just take me a moment. So what happened is I had all these mapped out, and then I shut the window. That wasn't very, very smart of me to do. All right, and the next one is going to be the Orion's belt in Sirius. That's the one I want. Okay. So I'm going to share a different one now. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to share another one. One moment. Just take me a second. Here we go. Okay. Now this is getting, now I'm going to start getting into the history of Orion. So one of the questions that was posed to us was, do the Orion Wars affect us in the here and now? Okay. And I'm going to say absolutely. And there's lots of reasons why. Some of the signs that we have in our today's world are in our stories, right? We have a narrative about an Orion War. We know that there was a massive galactic war that broke out. And that war broke out of a disagreement about how to evolve consciousness. One faction thought that evolving consciousness through spiritual awakening was the only way to go. Okay? The other faction thought that evolving consciousness via the applications of technology was the way to go. And this technology was a lot of things. Not only was it TI, technical intelligence, what we call AI on this planet, it was also cyborg. It was also what's the other? Androids. Okay, it was machines, intelligent machines. Think about Data on Star Trek. Okay, they were evolved. They wanted to evolve souls, evolve consciousness through other vehicles besides organic ones, besides that of DNA. And there was a massive disagreement about that, and then the war ensued. That's the basic narrative of the Orion Wars. There's a lot of details in there. You have reptilians and greys and insectoids, and there's lots of mini dramas within the big drama, right? Okay, so going back to this other picture here with the Milky Way. Imagine if while you're looking up at these stars that they started to rearrange themselves. They actually started to orientate themselves differently to you. Okay. And I've had this experience. When I was working with different interdimensional beings, most notably would be Maestro Pandoro. There was a time when I was on the beach looking up, and the stars were actually rearranging themselves before my eyes. And I was beside myself. I was like, what am I watching? What is going on here? But what was happening was he was unwinding the dramas of my soul's journey that orientated me to specific constellations. Okay, let that sink in for a minute. He was unwinding trauma dramas of my past. A lot of it had to do with DNA manipulation and the work of the Lumerians and stuff like this. He was unwinding the trauma dramas of my past. And in that, the stars were reorientating themselves. They were changing. They were no longer the constellations that they once were when I began working with him. Okay? Just sit with that and let that sink in. These stars change. They're living, breathing life force. They change according to our orientation to them. So the picture here of the Milky Way galaxy is a snapshot of the being who took this picture, their orientation to the Milky Way. You understand? This is their orientation. And then there's stories that get created to acquaint others with another person's orientation. Hence all of the mythologies we have of the gods and goddesses and other figures that we see, that we have constellations named after. Okay. And some of the most notable constellations that we have in our mythology, very alive and well in our culture today, is astrology. We have the formation of Taurus. We have the formation of Leo. We have the formation of Virgo and Pisces. Okay, and those who study astrology have attributes that they're taught that are associated with these astrological constellations. You with me so far? I know that we went super abstract, but this is important because each of these nesting dolls are represented in the night sky. We can see them. We can engage with them. We can have a feedback loop of when we change something in our light body here, it'll actually change the orientation of stars out here. It'll change the story we have about certain stars that are out here. Okay? And where I'm going with this is that I had a major awakening. Well, with the experience with Maestro Pandoro, absolutely. But that wasn't the only time. There was other awakenings that happened via transmissions. And this was a reorientation to the whole Orion system altogether. And what happened was, instead of identifying Orion's belt and seeing that frequency, what was revealed underneath that, and it changed the whole shape of the constellation for me, was a Sasquatch being becoming that constellation. And as soon as that came forward, the battle, the memories, the Akashic entanglements, the part of my blueprint that was involved in that battle completely rearranged. And I no longer had those wars alive in my subconscious and forming my here and now moment. You see what I mean? Okay. So what we have going on in these biosuits that are hyperdimensional is profound in how we influence this reality. What's happened is that this 4D field has been highly charged, and it hijacks our attention, and it hijacks our awareness, and it tricks us into colluding with that drama. Okay? Colluding with it. We, by having aversions to certain dramas in this collective, has us participating and not even realizing it. But when we can see these dramas, see the stars behind the drama, then we can look at it in a very different way, and then we have very different choices available to us. When we see, and I'll just take the current shenanigans, the narrative of the jabs, okay? So we have these narratives of the jabs, highly polarized. Many people who are for it are for, they want to do it out of convenience, or maybe they really believe that it works and it's going to help humanity. They all have their reasons. And then you have the people who are absolutely not about it, and they feel equally emotional charge in a different direction. Maybe they feel it's an affront to nature. It's an affront to humans, right? It's an affront to the human sovereignty. I mean, there's all sorts of stories in that. Many of us probably resonate with a little bit of both sides. When we are trapped in either or, right, we cannot see the systems behind the systems that are creating that. But when we can see that charge, when we can see the emotional charge and recognize, this sounds a lot like the story that Orion has brought to our awareness, to humanity. Okay. So then you can actually now go and address that energy, that information in a different way. You can now address your own entanglements that you may still have in existence with the Orion War drama. Unravel that, you'll unravel this. And the beautiful thing, when I say this, I'm talking about this particular narrative that's highly polarized. The beautiful thing about this is that you assist the collective subconscious, unconscious involvement in the story too. Because there are many, many beings that participated throughout the galaxy in that particular drama. And by you addressing the entanglements that you have, you are freeing all the beings that participated in that entanglement with you. And that that has a ripple effect interdimensionally, and you are quite literally liberating people on a subconscious level in the here and now. You see? So that's not to say that we don't have feelings about it, or we don't feel like we need to stand up for our truth, because it's essential. We have to stand up for our truth. We have to know our truth. That's the only way we can navigate with sovereignty in this realm. It's just, they're setting the stage where it's precarious to be able to stand up for your truth. You understand? Precarious. It's very difficult, because if you stand up for your truth, they've already manipulated the narrative to whack you, whatever side of the truth it is that's yours, right? So, and that's us facing all the ways that we have abandoned ourselves throughout our soul's journey. Okay. So this is, eons, even for many of us, eons worth of snowballing of us not standing up for ourselves in the past, hitting us right now here. And it depends on how much unraveling you've done. If you've done a lot of unraveling on this, you're probably not getting as much static as some others who have, sold themselves out a lot within their soul's journey. Okay, we have to face that in the here and now, because when we go into the new paradigm, which we are going in, absolutely, Pachamama's decided, you guys know that. I mean, in your hearts of hearts, the Pachamama's decided to go into this new paradigm without question. It just matters of how many of us are going to retain a biosuit in that process. That's what it comes down to. So we are going through a trial by fire. We are facing all the entanglements that we have in our Akasha of one time that are still there, okay? And the number one entanglement that has propagated suffering in this galaxy is people not standing up for themselves, not being in their truth, denying their truth and forcing others to deny their truth as well, okay? So this is the fire that we are passing through right now. And for some people, it is intense. And for other people, it's a little less, okay? But either way, whichever side you're on, you have to stand up for your truth. You have to do it. And you have to face all the ways in which you lied to yourself about what your truth is. There's stuff like that going on. All right. So, dear Sister Joanne says, whoa, the Milky Way orientation being personal is a mind blower, changing stories. And there is an equilateral triangle between Sirius, Betelgeuse, and Orion. Yes, 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 yes. And the star off to the upper left-hand corner, Procyon. I am wondering our connection with all these stars as well. Well, we do. We have a connection with all those stars. Many of us have had lifetimes in those realities. So here's the thing: we are hyperdimensional, and we don't realize it. We think life is only in 3D, and as we can see in this model, life exists on many levels. Okay, so it's not just in the 3D realm that we have existences. We have existences in star cities and in cities of light, and like Shangri-La. That's considered to be a city of light, one that is beyond the 3D. So there's a deep history that we have with all of these star systems. Sirius is the one that most of us will have an orientation to, because they are the guardians of the gateway to that consciousness, which means we have a deep familial connection with them. Okay. Another star system we have a deep familial connection with are the Pleiades, because the Palladian star system, level of consciousness, they hold the gateway for us to access the Akasha. Okay. When we are open to open to an existence beyond linear time, when we can step into our heart space and experience the infinite nature of things, we can now step through that threshold into the Akasha. And here, let me show you the doorway of the Akasha real quick. You guys want to see what the doorway of the Akasha looks like? I know, it's so cool. Hold on, let me draw that one up. Mm-hmm. Here it is. I think this is it, if I'm right. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, you guys see that? You guys see this? This is the doorway to the Akasha. Now, this is a hyperdimensional doorway. So right now we're looking at it cross-sectioned on a plane. But the center, the sun, realize, here, let's see if it'll let me move it, realize that it is moving through space and time like this. Look, you see how it's moving? Okay. This is how it's moving through space, with the planets going around it. And notice the frequency waves that the planets leave as they tour around, orbit around the sun. Okay. So this is a cross section of that action right there. That's the doorway to the Akasha. Now, the kinds of things that you can access in the Akasha really depends on how expanded your identity, your awareness can go. If you are really fixated on you being the identity that you have right now, when you look at the mirror, you are going to be limited to something like, say, just your birth chart. When you are limited into your individual identity, your potential that you can access in the Akasha, the doorway to that is your birth chart. But there's so many more star systems beyond that. There are stars expressing themselves through these planets. There are interdimensional levels of intelligence expressing themselves through these planets, through these beings. So this doorway is quite literally the doorway to infinity. Quite literally the doorway to infinity. From here, you can reach back past even what we call Orion and past the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and even go beyond that into the cosmic arena, into the multiverse arena. But we first have to deal with our blind spots, and our blind spots are those entanglements. Those entanglements, we know they're there because we have a high charge, a high emotional charge, a strong emotional feeling about those events. And right now, everything that we are experiencing on this planet is a reiteration of every drama that has happened throughout the Milky Way galaxy. Okay? A reiteration. of every drama that has ever played out through the Milky Way galaxy. So that's the enslavement dynamic. That's the TIAI drama. That is the power over dynamics. Okay, that's a little similar to enslavement, but it's not in the sense of there is DNA manipulation that has happened that actually creates species that are limited in their awareness and therefore easily enslaved. Okay, so there's been a lot, I mean, millions and millions and billions of years of exploration of consciousness throughout the Milky Way galaxy, and we're in the outer ripple effect of it. So that which has not been resolved yet, we get to resolve in the here and now moments walking on this plane. Okay? Now let me talk a little bit about the guardians, because the guardians is something that we really need to look at. I know this is abstract, but I think you guys are getting it. Feel what's happening in your body when I'm talking about these pieces. That's the most important thing. Feel what's happening in your body. The actual details of the story are irrelevant. What's important is the feeling that it gets you to, because that's getting you to something that you didn't know was there before. Okay, that's the jewel. So we're the guardians of the 3D experience. Yes, we've really messed that up because we've given our sovereignty over to these two other beings that don't have bodies, that aren't corporeal, and have quite literally no weight in this 3D without a human carrying it out. Okay, this is true. This really, I know. People think that there's beings that are more powerful than us and can create things in this plane. And the fact is, they can't come to this plane without a human participating. You have to have a biosuit to make something in 3D. To actually construct something in 3D, you have to have a biosuit. Now there's technologies that will construct things in 3D that, but the technology has to be able to be in 3D to create something in 3D. So holograms are not necessarily a 3D construct. Okay, they impact our 3D, absolutely. Okay, so let me get back to. So we are humans, the guardians of the three-dimensional space. We have been giving our sovereignty away. Therefore, there's all these beings that feel like they have the right. They're empowered. They're in the place of power to make things a certain way on the 3D field. We've done that as humans, okay? And that's because we forgot who we are. We experienced a mass trauma on this planet. Many of us would associate that with the fall of Atlantis, even though the fall of the consciousness of Atlantis was happening over many thousands of years, but there was a final hoopla that destroyed it all, and there was massive catastrophic geological events that went all around this planet. So many beings, we were mass traumatized species at that point. Okay, so we have been recovering from that timeline on, from that moment on. So beings, of course, took advantage of that. So there's also other beings that are caretakers of other realms. So we're the caretakers of this realm, and then there's a caretaker here of the 4D realm. You guys know who the caretakers of the 4D realm? You want to venture to guess on that? That is the Anunnaki. Now, the Anunnaki were actually manifesting here in bodies over many thousands of years on this planet. There's many races of Anunnaki, guys. So if you're going right to the thought of reptilian in the Anunnaki narrative, that's only one race of many races. Okay. And my experience with being in communications with the Anunnaki, that there are several races, and this is something that's important for us to recognize, that DNA blending is the name of the game when it comes to evolving consciousness in the Milky Way galaxy. The different kinds of combinations of DNA that are out there are all explorations to create the ultimate vessel. And when I say ultimate vessel, I'm talking about a vessel that any soul being can come in and operate, can be born into and operate. And this is significant because in the original universe, the first life that was being imbued with consciousness was insectoid. Okay. And then there were other universes that spun off of that, and they were very specific races associated with those different universes. So we had dragon beings, we had reptilian beings, we had uh, um, the insectoid beings, all this stuff. The thing is that you can't go from having, like, say, a bunch of lifetimes as a insectoid being. You couldn't just go and start being born as a reptilian being. It was like the soul, the consciousness had to relearn how to work the biosuit, so to speak. And so what's happened is that we have many, many star beings, many star systems donating DNA to blend multiple kinds of DNA so you can have a vessel that almost anybody in the galaxy can incarnate in. Okay, so the humans are made up of many different kinds of DNA, at least 12 that I'm aware of, and that is so we can have beings from all these different areas of the Milky Way galaxy come and incarnate in these vessels. Okay, that's because we share consciousness with all these different star systems. It's in our DNA. That's why the Pleiadians and the Sirians and the Lyrans and, the Reptilians and all these guys, they're quite literally our family. Okay, we have a reptilian brain in the center of our head. That's no accident that it's called reptilian. Okay, and not all reptilians are associated with Draco or the Beltrix or any of the the more intense races. There's lots and lots and lots of varieties. Okay, so the Anunnaki were given providence over the 4D field, and it is said that the last time that they were here, they planted a seed, and they didn't realize the seed would turn out to what it's turned into today, which is a very intense power over dynamic. Okay, that's what's said. If it's the truth, we'll see, because everything's coming to a head in the next few years. So you also have these oblong skull beings. Those are also races of Anunnaki. You have ones that look similar to Zeta Reticuli, or a blending of a reptilian Zeta Reticuli biosuit. Those too can be Anunnaki. Okay, we have many, many races of beings blended together in different formulations, all in effort to create a vessel, let's say, supreme vessel for consciousness to evolve itself. Something that's been shared with us from the Sasquatch is that when you have a society where many races of beings, many very different kinds of races of beings can exist, cohabit together in harmony, that is the best consciousness accelerator available to this day. So imagine if we had a city where fairy beings and nature devas and Anunnaki beings and Sasquatch beings and insectoid beings, reptilian beings, all shared the same city, all shared the planes of existences together. That is the most highly way to accelerate a consciousness, is by them experiencing their differences in space, in the 3D plane. Okay, so this blending thing is really the name of the game in the universe, but especially in the Milky Way galaxy. I'm sorry, I digress a little bit. So let me get back to the multidimensional stuff, the timelines, and the jab thing. So let me go back to the Milky Way galaxy picture. All right, so first we have this. This is the gateway to the Akasha. This is the gateway to you, the level of being you are beyond your face. This is you being able to access your personal soul's journey. Okay. And then let me get to, looks like I lost some light. Let me get to that other picture of the Milky Way. There it is. So when it comes to switching around timelines, you have many gateways and doorways available to you. The one thing you cannot do is collapse a timeline that has an existence that has a truth that must be revealed. Okay, so if you have an entanglement somewhere, I think it overheated. If you have an entanglement somewhere, say you need to set straight an event that happened way off in a star system over here somewhere off to the right, you will not be able to change that timeline. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to shut that down. You would not be able to change that timeline trajectory. Let me get back to it. You guys understand what I mean by that? Oh, I actually closed the window. I didn't mean to. All right. So we only can collapse false timelines, false timeline trajectories. That means they are timeline trajectories based on lies. You see what I'm saying? So if there is a lie that has been told to you or an entire race of beings, right, then you can collapse those timelines, no problem. But you only can collapse them by completely surrendering into your truth. You see what I'm saying? So the lies that we've been told about who we are, a lot of timelines have been created because of those lies. The false history that we've been given, that actually created a whole bunch of false timelines because of those histories that are a lie. So coming back to our truth, it sounds really simple, but it's actually really challenging if we are not in touch with who we really are and what our truth actually is. If you're somebody who's a caretaker and you always want to be nice and you want to be diplomatic and all those things, you know, that's good. You're going to have a challenge there, depending on what mechanisms you've employed to create and make peace. Your truth has to be acknowledged, worked with, but you have to come to peace with it. Only then can you actually unwind the timeline that is associated with the unfoldment of that particular piece. So the good news is that there are massive transmissions coming to this planet right now from many different star systems. People are waking up to their own star DNA. I mean, that like their consciousness is actually waking up to another level of who they are. And some of them, they feel like they're going crazy because they have no story. They have no association to what's really going on. They just know that they feel really different and they're looking at things and thinking about things real differently than they have ever before. Okay. So the good news is that the change is happening from the inside out. Okay. And all we need to do is understand how to feed it, how to feed the flames, how to stoke the fires within, and just let it rip from there. That's how I'm seeing it. It's like, you know, once you have those fires stoked, bring other people into your life that also stoke that fire. Don't encourage those relationships that stamp your fire out or are in conflict with your fire. Find those relationships that feed your flames, because then you're going to be able to dissolve all those false timelines very quickly with your presence, with your love, with your compassion, with the truth of who you are on a stellar level. You see what I'm saying? So the history is important to understand those histories that are lies that create those false timelines, so you can just completely unplug from them and no longer give them energy, give them thought, give them weight, believe in them, all those things. That changes. But then you have to deal with the parts of the history that's in your truth, which is the stuff you find in the Akasha. And those can also be transcended as well. And the example I have, and I'm going to wrap up with this. The example I have, I can't wrap up. There's one more thing about the jab I have to say. So I'll say this piece and then I'll address the jab thing, and then we'll move on to closing up. So your stories, your wounding stories that you have in your Akasha, say, let's take betrayal. Betrayal is a big one for me. So all of my family has pretty mega betrayal stories, and many people in my family have had quite literally died of broken hearts, right? So this is something, I was born into this family because I had a resonance for that kind of thing. So I say I take any one of my wounding stories and I go and I trace it back through the Akasha, and I trace it back to the actual part of me that wanted to have that experience. And I'm not talking about in the idea of it. I actually can feel the part of me that made that agreement. I can feel and see behind the eyes of that level of me that made that agreement. So now when I release the agreement and all beings entangled with me in that agreement become liberated and healed, my wounding story that was in the Akasha has now turned into a liberation story. You see? So that truth is still my truth, but it has a whole nother momentum to it. And I've collapsed the betrayal timeline. You see what I mean? The need to express and experience betrayals on those levels. I mean, sure, there's nuances of that and still in existence, but it's not nearly as intense as it used to be for me. Okay. So this is how we change our story, and then we change our timelines. You change the momentum in the Akasha, you change the potentials in the next, in the yet to be explored experiences. Okay. So that's that part. Now, getting back into the jabs thing, because I didn't, there's a few thoughts I didn't finish there. One is, there is a multidimensional aspect to what these things are doing. On a physical level, on a multidimensional level, we are infinite beings in a human biosuit, and we can transmute and transcend anything that gets put into our bodies. But that is only the truth if that is the truth. If it's something that you're just telling yourself, and there's some part of you that doesn't believe it or isn't in that truth, then you're not going to transmute that. You are going to step into it and be caught in it until you're not caught anymore. That's how that's going to go. So, and it really, and for me, what I'm noticing is, and last week, I hope you guys can watch that chat, because I talked about, I was hypothesizing what the traits are that I saw in star shines that were able to transmute the injections, and those who were not able to transmute the injection. So if you listen back to that chat, because I went through the 4 points of that. So some of the clues that you have to it being something that you're going to transmute or not is why you're doing it. If you're doing it to acquiesce, then you're not. That's not necessarily a sovereign decision. But if you're doing it because you want to transmute it and to serve humanity, that's a sovereign decision. You see what I mean? So that's a very simple example. But there's a lot of people are getting pushed to the wall on this, and we have to know what our truth is. And if your truth is wherever it is on that spectrum, you're going to go through that trial by fire, undoing all those times where you've betrayed yourself in other parts of your soul's journey. And you're quite literally dissolving the patterns of all the trauma drama of the Orion Wars, dissolving the patterns of all the planets that have been destroyed and souls who've lost their homes. You're dissolving all of that in the fire of standing up for the truth that's inside of you. You're dissolving all of that. You're transmuting all of that. It's way beyond you. Because remember, reality is not what you think it is, and you are not who you think you are. Okay? The story of who you are in this life is 1 gazillionth reiteration of eons of experiences. And what's happening right now is a reiteration, let's say a culmination of all those experiences. We're about to step through a threshold, and for a lot of people, that threshold is like passing through the eye of the sun. Some of us will keep our biosuits, some of us won't. It doesn't matter good, bad, right, or wrong. It just, those who really want to keep their biosuits during this transition are drawn to do the work, are drawn to do this kind of work and purify their spirits in this way. We have to purge all those belief systems that we've been told that really aren't the truth. We need to purge all that from our subconscious, from our Akasha, from our light body, if it's in our light body. If it's in your light body, this is actually very easy to transmute. You can simply go back to source all the way and change your soul song. Bring more tones, more frequencies with you next time you reemerge out of source. Because we are hyperdimensional, our biosuits are hyperdimensional. the realities that our biosuits occupy overlap with other beings' realities. Okay, and this is why the insectoid consciousness is so essential for humanity's awakening to their infinite nature, is because those realities overlap, and they too are guardians of a certain threshold and a certain kind of initiation. All right, so these are amazing times right now. Amazing, amazing times. Not to say they're not challenging, not to say they're not scary. If anything, it's all of the above and then some for most of us. So resource yourself the best you can. Find others that stoke your flames and go for it. Go for it. When I say go for it, I mean like go for the life you want all the way. Bring the ones around you that stoke those flames so you can burn up all the lies inside, all the lies that you accepted as the truth inside yourself. Now, it's inside the biosuit, but it's also in the soul's journey and beyond. So when you're inviting other people into your world that stoke your flames, you are really doing some work on a collective level. Okay. Okay, let's see. I'm going to check in with some comments, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you, guys. I know I went a little bit over. All right. Facebook user says profound. Boom. I'm not really sure what that part was about, but thank you for that. Says if you're watching with us, say hi and let us know you're here. Oh, this is dear. I'm sorry, I didn't even read the name. That's our dear Starshine Heather. And then we have Joanne that says this explanation assists me in understanding why there are those who are simply unable to see certain facts regarding all aspects of the illness. Yes, I want to live here. Woohoo! Okay, so I'm good. I'm glad. All right. And then dear Lavana says, having the strongest deja vu ever right now. If this weren't live, I'd swear I was listening to an older chat. Yowza. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. All right, guys. So, I hope this was helpful. If you guys are inclined to support us on this channel, I encourage you to subscribe in our YouTube channel, Lightbody Academy, and then you'll get notifications when we go live and when we release other videos. And also, if this is interesting to you, this multidimensional engagement, I encourage you guys to stay tuned because we are coming out with a new program in Lightbody called the Quantum Reality Shift. And it is it's a program where we get together 4 times a month and open up these fields and experience the big dream time, but in the waking world. And I'm really excited to bring that forward for you guys because I think that this will help support a lot of you on your path, maintaining your sovereignty and seeking and reclaiming the truth of who you are. So I'm really excited to bring that forward. It's going to start in September. So be sure you subscribe to our email list to make sure you get notified about that if that's something that's interesting to you. All righty, ladies. Thank you, ladies and gents. Thank you so much for tuning in and for bringing all your questions forward and helping us develop these topics that we're talking about in these chats. Again, if you loathe Facebook, I don't blame you. We have a group called Multidimensional Human on Telegram that you can find us on. And then if you are still surfing the Facebook ride, we have that Rise of the Multidimensional Human group that you can check out. So all of that's for free. And all of that, we just post things that we feel are supportive to your growth in your multidimensional path of awakening. So that's it for me. Thank you, guys. Mwah, mwah. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.